Welcome to this second webinar in our series about how to navigate and lead innovation and innovation excellence in times of crisis. Today we're going to explore a particular topic that's on your mind, we've learned, which is how to develop and create new business opportunities in these challenging times. So today we're going to explore together with Linda Nieuwenhuizen of Centraal Beheer a case that she's been working on in the past 3 weeks and how she's been able to pull some great things off in just this short amount of time. So tune in and looking forward to learn today, but also to learn together with you in the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. In fact, the second in a series of how to drive innovation excellence in times of crisis. Last week we had a kickoff, which was kind of a plenary one-to-many session where we covered, let's say, some basics of driving innovation excellence with a particular focus on this corona crisis here. And we figured that with on a weekly basis, we could gather in smaller groups to see if we can dive into some specific topics that are on top of your minds. And to keep up the good mood, the positivity, I think that we all need and that we have, I guess, by nature, is on today's agenda, how to create new business opportunities during these times of downturn. So what are some insights? What are some inspiration that we can share, and maybe also what are some tools and techniques that we can use. So looking at the schedule or the goals for today, in fact, again, as we mentioned last week, this is really about you, those innovation professionals out there, and supporting you in your efforts in these difficult times. So today we're going to explore the topic that was just mentioned with, as always, with real life cases. So Linda, I'm very happy that you're with us. I'll introduce you in a minute a bit more in detail. And of course, being a university, we try to support and facilitate the discussion with some insights or some tools. And at the end, we would like to also, together with you, see what will be nice options for exploring in the weeks to come. We have a couple of them already, but I guess it's good to do that together at the very end. So in the meantime, I will also be having a look at the chat. So if you have any questions, please let them know. But also, if you want to speak up, be my guest, and let's make this interactive. So, anything on your end before we start, or we are ready to go, I guess. So, based on the framework that we've introduced last week, let's say the 8 components as we see it of innovation excellence and how to govern effectively an innovation maturity or competence model. We've introduced that last week. What's on the agenda today is, in fact, one of the innovation processes. So, in particular, at the project level, how to turn an idea into, a mature opportunity, and at the end of the day, a working or operational business or a service or product. So, with that, what are some basics here? Well, first, before we dive in, we have to acknowledge that this program and everything that we do is about supporting you. How to, as an innovation professional, work on the innovation machine, how to improve this innovation process and this innovation engine. So given that it's about you, I think it's also fitting to start with you, obviously, and see who we have in the call here. Maybe a quick introduction on your end, very quick, also with maybe what's top of mind at the moment in your innovation roles. So before we then proceed to the case discussion, maybe we can make this quick round. So maybe Bart, you can start by sharing with us briefly who you are and what in particular is on your mind at the moment.
Yeah, very good, thank you. So Bart van Hattem, I worked until 1st of March at Vattenfall, always in the field of innovation, product development, and quit my job on a very good moment. And now I am a freelance innovation coach and sparring partner for people, but also teams and organizations to help them be successful in innovation. And for me, it's also a good time maybe because there's a lot of things happening around. Okay, I have to renew my business model. I need to find new revenue pools, etc. So the reason to join is to learn, of course, from your content and knowledge, but also to meet others,
Right.
and to also see and hear what is actually the problems people in organizations are facing today.
Right. Thanks so much, Bart. Thanks. Good to have you. Bastiaan, on my list, you're next. Are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. You can hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Ah, cool. Yeah, Bastiaan, working at IGNH, business consulting. I work in a product team, team responsible for innovation of new products, most of the time data-driven products. And what we see in these days is that, especially in consulting, budgets are cut or stopped, and it's difficult to get the whole thing started and keeping it going. We're already making some projects smaller and stuff like that, but it's quite difficult to keep driving the innovation initiatives we have. So that's why I'm here, and very happy to join.
Thank you. Thanks. Brit, are you listening in?
Yes, I'm muting because I'm at the playground at the moment. Hi, my name is Brit Harmans. I'm innovation lead at Transavia, and I'm joining this session today because I think the airline industry faces like the biggest challenge we've ever had. The coronavirus also triggers a different type of behavior, so I think we have a big challenge at the moment to not only reinvent our current business model, but also come up with new business models. And it is both challenging because our current business is focusing mainly on starting up whenever we can. So the focus is very operational, and everything that was focused on innovation, also budget-wise, has been put on hold. So that's actually the challenge I'm dealing with at the moment.
Right. Okay, thanks for sharing. So hopefully we can, at the end, with all of your questions or challenges, we can reflect a little bit at the end and also see if not today, how we can cover that in the weeks to come. So thanks for being with us. Let's see, who's next? I guess Angelique?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Angelique Plugge. I am also part of the organizing team and one of the initiators of the Innovation Excellence Program at ACA. And next to that, in my daily life, I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own company in innovation consultancy, where I basically help organizations to really create the context to successfully innovate. So that's all about innovation excellence. And what I see in my market currently is that the companies where I was already having, let's say, a relationship with that is continued, but especially in the, let's say, for the organizations where I was still in discussion of a potential engagement, I see a lot of organizations currently not stopping, but delaying because of all the hectic situations that they see. So really focus on the short term. Which is interesting because that's, of course, a topic for today as well. We all know from also from the academic research that's out there that you especially need to invest in innovation in these challenging times. But then, of course, the question is, how do you bring this about in your organizations? And I think that's why it's really interesting to have this conversation.
Yeah. Thanks, Angelique. Thanks for being with us and for your expertise, without a doubt, later on today. So thanks for that. Maybe Annick, briefly from your end.
Hi everyone, I think I've been in touch with most of you. So my name is Annick and I'm working at the Erasmus Centre for Entrepreneurship together with Ferdinand. and working on most of these innovation programs, both on an organizing and management side as content development. So I'm happy that you're here, and also for all the others that will receive the webinar recording and slides later on, to stay in touch and see how we can help each other out.
Thank you. Thanks. Yes. So of course I've introduced myself in this before, but briefly here for a standalone session here. My name is Ferdinand, program director here at Erasmus Centre for Entrepreneurship, and working with the rest of the team. Some of you who you've met on the Innovation Excellence program that we have, and where we really exist, you can say, to support those innovation drivers to bring the innovation excellence in your organizations to the next level. And with that, I think, Linda, let's proceed to introducing you in a minute. So let's hold on. So let me give me a minute to work towards, let's say, the grand opening of your case, if that's okay with you. Okay, so hold on. So we're all very curious now who Linda is and what she will have to say. So let's take one more minute. Because what I've shared last week very briefly is just a very, very quick overview of some basic principles of how entrepreneurs, entrepreneurial people, whether they are working for a startup or for a large organization or an SME for that matter, how they create opportunities, especially in times of ambiguity and uncertainty. And those four principles have to do with the lemonade principle, working with available means, taking into account what's affordable for you to lose, and also co-creation, working with others to create opportunities. So the example that we had last week was, for instance, this flag producer in the Netherlands, almost all of a sudden out of business. But then, with the support of the public, and also in these times of crisis, trying to create something meaningful for society, and also to keep the operations going. This opportunity to create this Corona flag. Just an example of how, let's say, adversity is embraced and turned into a new opportunity. So from lemons, you make some lemonade. You work with your available means. So with the assets and the capacities that you already have, it's affordable in the sense that this opportunity might not be the most attractive one out there, but still, it keeps the business up and running. It keeps the employees active. And it's being put to a good use for a good cause. Also, this case was created with support of the public, the design, anything else. So this was really also a joint effort with some NGOs, you name it. So these four principles, let's have that in the back of our minds, because later on, as we debrief the upcoming case, we're going to use these to reflect on the case and to deepen the learning and to also see what that could possibly mean for all of you. So with that, very, very quick introduction, because time is running very, very fast in this 1 hour session. Let's now take some serious time to get to know Linda. Linda is one of the alumni of our Innovation Excellence Certification Program. So Linda, you are a certified innovation driver according to us, and happy that you're here. So you've been working on a great case in the last couple of weeks. So maybe Linda, you can introduce yourself a bit, and then also introduce us to your case, which we then can discuss and reflect on.
Well, thanks, Ferdinand, for the nice introduction. Yeah, my name is Linda, and I work at Centraal Beheer, insurance company in the Netherlands. And I work in a division that is busy with innovation. So I'm the head of the innovation unit, and we focus mainly on creating services, new services. So not especially insurances, but more services. And the last 3 weeks was also very exciting for us. And my team was very put the challenge. You can say they get the challenge to say, okay, what can we do? So everyone was facing, of course, problems. We have a lot of services that we where we people help with, like we have some handyman that we send to people homes, and we thought, yeah, can we do that? Because people are have to stay at home, and you have to keep the distance of 1.5 meters. Is it responsible for us as a company to deliver a service where people are coming over in your home? Yeah, what are you doing? So that was one of the main questions that for us was popping up, like a big company with a very we had a reputation issue, you could say. But nevertheless, despite all the fears that were coming up, we were also thinking in challenges. My team was saying, okay, we have to take this challenge and we have to see what other problems are coming up in at this moment and how we can help people with this. And just think about our values and our processes and our mindset and the skills and capabilities that we have. How can we put us together and see what problems there are and that we can help with? So that's what we did. We looked at what was going on, and the main challenge we saw was that a lot of people, like 8.9 million people actually in the Netherlands, have to work at home right now. And not only that, you have to work at home, but you also have to take care of your kids, and you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of your job, and maybe you are anxious also about it. So a lot of very emotional fears are coming up maybe, and we thought maybe we can help people out with that. So we started actually with a new idea. And before I introduce that, maybe Ferdinand, you can put up the next slide for that. Oh, and also other nice introduction of the group. I thought you were all Dutch, so that's a good thing for now. So you can read it, the slides. But what I say, a lot of the people in the Netherlands are working at home right now. And a lot of problems are coming up. And that's why we said, how can we help these families? Mm-hmm. And we started also a little research within our open community. We have an open community with a lot of startups and scale-ups. We see that there's a lot of partners who are helping us out with our innovation thesis. But now they are also facing problems, because I think that I am lucky that I'm working in a big company. But if you're working in a scale-up or in a startup, you have other challenges to face. So what we did was also had a talk with one of the startups, and one of the startups in our ecosystem is My Dialogues. You can see that actually in the next slide. And My Dialogues is a tool where you can do very cheap market research within the whole population of the Netherlands. It's just a little push-up message that you get on your phone with a question, and every company or everyone can join that tool. And just in a quick 5 minutes, you get some responses from all the people in the Netherlands. And what we asked My Dialogues, we said, okay, you are a very nice partner of us in our ecosystem. How can we help you to survive this crisis? And the only thing she said is, please use my service. So that's what we did. We used the service of her to set up a market research. And it was quite a good insight and coincidence, actually, because the research that we did was, how can we help people with a comfortable way of working at home? And so what do people need, and how can we help with that? So what you see that we We researched the needs of the different people, and we didn't know what was going to happen, but for us it was important to first help one of our partners in our innovation ecosystem, and of course in the second place we wanted to discover if there were any opportunities how we can help this country with services we can deliver from Centraal Beheer. So we started this 3 weeks ago, and if you can switch to the next slide. What we did was, after that little research, we saw that about 44% of the Netherlands were saying that they had trouble with finding a right balance between work and life at the moment, and that around 30% had issues with their space to work. So they had problems about facing neck problems or back problems, or they had just a small laptop. And these were the insights you can see where people wanted to get some help with, but not also consumers, but also big companies. Because what we saw is that big companies have to take care of their employees, and they were struggling with how can we get just a big desk or a laptop of a nice chair back home at the people. Do we have to get the people to get to our offices, and that they drive there and just take their chair and their table with them back home? Yeah, but it's not a very good way to do that. So we gathered just some insights about it, and the first thing that we saw was that we can help companies, but also consumers, to get a really nice spot back home to work safely, and that you stay safe also, and don't gather any other problems like neck problems or other issues. So if you can go to the next slide, Ferdinand. Yeah, so what we did, we just developed a website on our homepage of Centraal Beheer. And we didn't know it was working out, of course, but it's just a website, and we didn't have any service yet. But we just wanted to make sure that if you press this button, just to see what the traction would be. So we launched this last week, and we had like around 400 positive clicks, how you can say it. Just people were signing in and saying, okay, yes, I would like to get this service if it's really there. So it was, we call it a fake door test. It wasn't really there, but we just were checking if it was working out. And we said, okay, if we have 100 potential customers, then we're gonna launch it really. So that's what we did, because we had around 400. So in the last 3 days, we found a partner, because one of the main thing was, if we wanted to set it up by ourselves, it would take, I think, around months to get it. So we found a partner, and they helped us with make some packages, and also a delivery service to get everything back home at the people. And they say, yeah, we want to help. So we had a very quick deal also with them, not even a contract yet. It was just an intention. Are we going to help people out with this? We're going to make the website, we're going to do the marketing, and if you can deliver the materials, we just can do it. So it gave us a lot of positivism also within the whole organization, not only within my team, but also for the board. They were very happy that we could do something like this, which is also something that is very in the DNA of Centraal Beheer. Just get an idea and help people and see how it worked out. So yeah, I think that was just a small peek in the case that we did in the last 3 weeks. To face the challenge that we have within innovation, but also see what we can do instead of what we cannot do. And it gave a really positive energy for the whole organization. So that was really nice to work on. And if you go a little bit further, Ferdinand.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and how we go further. What we also saw is that a lot of people were saying, "Can you help me with some with a video conference with some how do you say it in English? I can say it in Dutch. A fysiotherapeut."
Yeah.
So that you can help me how I can set up my desk and my chair. And that's also nice. So that's going to be a phase 2, that we can also deliver a video call and advice, and also dus support the fysiotherapeuten who were also struggling now with doing their job. So yeah, it opens a lot of other opportunities that we didn't know beforehand. But yeah, it was a case. Is a case.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Linda, for sharing. Such a wonderful example of in such a short period of time. You use quite a lot of input or resources. You mobilize that for new opportunity here. So I think many takeaways. And I'm just curious first, before we do some more rigorous reflection here. Are there any questions or reflections from the group at this point? Anybody?
Yeah, so Linda, very great example. Cool to see that the real action, because of course first you have to this crisis comes on your plate, and then you have to react on that, and then it can be hard to come into action. So this is really cool to see. So I have been interviewed about working at home as well, but then in a video call. It was last week. But what I think is that party is actually investigating, but not really doing, and that's great. I think in your example, and I recognize the outcomes as well. So I have an office here, but I had to get things right to really don't get problems with my back and things like that. The question I had was, so it looks like you found really new business models Centraal Beheer did not really have before this crisis. Are you also already thinking of how to make this bigger and something you keep doing also after the lockdown is over?
Thanks for sharing, Bart. Thanks for the compliment. We like action, so thanks. It's a good question. We don't really know what's going to happen. So first, we think it's very a temporary service. But what we see, especially with the employers, that they didn't know that they had to help their employees with it anyway. So whenever you work at home, your employer has to help you with that. So that's what we see now from the inside. So that's maybe an opportunity that we can say, okay, maybe we can just develop it further, and help especially the employers with this. So yeah, it could be a possibility.
Yeah. And I think maybe the example of the physiotherapists.
Yeah.
It appeals to me. So to not only do things now for the crisis as a temporary thing, but also to maybe grasp the opportunity within the company to make this a real new business model.
Yeah, it's very interesting insight.
Yeah, so anybody else with an additional question to Linda or a reflection, given what you've learned?
Yeah, Linda, Angelique here. Hi. So maybe another thing that what I was thinking about, and I immediately have a question about that as well, is looking at your new idea, which is great, I think, and it really fits the needs of people in this interesting time frame. Is that I know that also a lot of companies, indeed, as you said, they have to facilitate working from home for people, especially if it's around jobs where people have to work at home. But I think there's also some opportunities for tax reduction and have this in a smart way financed. Did you look into that?
No, not yet.
I remember, for instance, when in my former job, when I was working in ING, I know that people could also, within the benefit plan of the organization, they could actually acquire themselves facilities for home working, and then also put this in and take it from their salary, let's say, so they don't have to pay taxes on it. So it might be interesting to dive into that.
Yeah.
And that's because that's quite substantial.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm gonna do that.
And that's maybe the question. If you approach the employers, it's interesting. Who is paying? Who is your paying customer?
Yeah, spot on. Yeah.
So
I will dive into it. Thank you.
You're welcome. But really cool. And really nice to see that Centraal Beheer is really going beyond the core business.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Angelique. So from this framework perspective, I think let me reflect a little bit. So what we can see obviously is that, you know, even though there is this crisis, that definitely, you know, in this case, Centraal Beheer and Linda, you and your team, what you said, you know, let's not focus on what we can't do anymore, but let's see what we can do, right? So really this positive mindset, and really looking at, you know, how can we make some lemonade with what we have, the resources that we have. So you refer to, for instance, the values of your company, also the innovation thesis that you have. So you're very explicit about, you know, actually why you exist as an innovation team, and with that guidance, with that compass, if you will, you've got into action, and with some very affordable steps, right? So you've used your existing network, you've used this MVP thinking, you know, this fake door test, as you mentioned. You really asked the question, what can we do? And then I think when it comes to co-creation, I very much like the fact that you've leveraged the innovation network that you have with startups and scale-ups that you work with, and then also that the starting point actually was also the ambition to help them, right? Like you've asked this My Dialogues or a company, okay, how can we help you? And this in fact was for you a starting point to get some new insights, some new to actually look outside in. To see really what's going on out there in these times of crisis, and how can we build on top of that. So these are, let's say, some illustrations of these general principles that maybe all of us can use. So given time, let's move on a little bit. I think what you see is if we think about it, still in these times, some generic rules still apply, or some generic pieces of advice. Like we need both outside in and inside out thinking, and a combination of that. So looking outside in, obviously, is not always a strength of organizations, but in these times, when of course you all of a sudden have very rapid, radical changes, it's perhaps a bit easier. So, so many different things are being affected at the moment. So systematically, we can try and assess that. And the example of Linda is a very detailed one of how you really do some research, some primary research into what's going on in people's minds and lives. So outside in, really, swallow the world, as some of our colleagues would say, to really embrace and see outside in what's going on and try to digest that. And then, if we push that, then knowing that a lot of companies and organizations, when it comes to innovation, have this notion of jobs to be done, of being really customer focused. And here we see also that this is spot on what Linda did. It's really about, with this market research, and in this way, not even by means of interviews, but by means of this this tool that you've shared, Linda, from this startup company. It's really a job to be done, and it's clear in what you say, right? How can we help families work at home comfortably, take care of themselves, take care of their families? And this is about 8.9 million people at the moment, and also the fact that you're aware of the emotions involved, anxiety perhaps, and also the physical challenges of your neck, etc. So a lot of things that you're aware of and that you're now pushing to new opportunities. So this is still, I think, more true than ever. So you see that the basic rules of innovation still apply, and that this is maybe also a selling point of us as innovation professionals to the rest of the organization, that this is actually what's needed, because these jobs to be done with customers, they're more prominent than ever to really understand. So with that, maybe we can think about the following. What we actually need, if we want to do this at an excellent, mature level, I would say, also from our experience in working with a lot of teams here, is that this problem definition, or this need, a job to be done, ideally is very precise. It's very well formulated. So this is a statement here that could help you to drive that. So maybe Linda, first to you. If you look at the job to be done, the customer need that you're addressing, what your solution at the end of the day, how would you define that in a sentence, or in one quick overview? What actually is it that you try to help the customer to achieve?
I think we help customers to achieve to have a nice, comfortable place to work, in the broadest sense of the sentence. But yeah.
I agree. And how could you make it more specific? Like if it's about what kind of improvement compared to the how they maybe started off working from home. What kind of improvements, or what should be reduced or increased or added compared to their current situation? What exactly would that be? Can you give us some examples?
Yeah. Well, a lot of the current situation is that people are working just at a kitchen table, or sitting on a not very dedicated chair.
Right. So these kind of things. So really, how they've kind of improvised a workstation for themselves, and now to make that more professional or more durable, if you will.
Yeah. And I think the other job to be done that we identified is that how can you get the stuff that you need at your home?
Yeah.
So you cannot go to the IKEA because it's closed. You cannot go to your office because that's not allowed.
Right.
So that's another one.
Yeah. So that's really, if you look at this entire journey, where in that journey can you be of any help, any assistance, and you solve that particular problem. Right. Excellent. Okay, so that in this entire overview is a good example, I think, of this outside-in perspective of looking at what's going on out there, what kind of needs exist or have become more prominent or more acute and specific. So this outside-in perspective is one, and then before I give it back to you, it's also then combining this with inside-out. Okay, so it's this interplay. How you create opportunities, and that comes back to this notion of this available means. What do you have available as an organization that you could possibly use in whatever kind of opportunity? And some also mentioned that that you should focus always on what's your unfair advantage as an organization. It's a popular concept in a lot of startup language and tools. And from a more academic perspective, then we would say that we need to take into account those capabilities or resources that are valuable, rare, inimitable, or costly to imitate, and also organized. Okay, so then given time and also given Linda, you being with us for this case, what would you say are the means or the resources that you already have and that you've put to use in this new opportunity? And how would you say, are they valuable, rare, or costly to imitate?
Well, I think one of the resources is our communication and marketing growth hacking process. Yeah. That's why are we capable of launching kind of a service in this speed.
Yeah.
And another one is that we have a valuable network.
Yeah. Yeah, it clearly shows. So with that you mean, for instance, this startup that you work with to gather market intelligence, I guess.
Yeah, but also the other party that we found.
Yeah.
That delivered the chairs and the desks.
Right.
It was also one of them in our network.
Oh, so you already had a relationship with that partner. It was
yeah, the facility company within Centraal Beheer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So excellent example of these available means. Nice. Okay. And what I also particularly like of your example is that you've the process of growth hacking is according to you this core capability, right? So it's not just a thing or a resource. It's really a capability. It's a process, and these in particular are difficult to imitate, right? Because this is something that you've created and developed over time, working on other innovation projects, and now you can leverage that. You can put that to great use because you've been able to do that before. You have people who know this, who've experienced this, and yes, as you mentioned, there's also this mindset that's embodied in this capability. So that brings me to the last part of this model here. It's organized, right? It's there, it exists. There are people capable of doing that. They know each other. They've done this together before. So it's organized. Okay, it's not just costly to imitate or rare or valuable. It's also indeed a true capability and process that you're good at. So again, a lovely example here of how you've put this to great use. Okay, so outside in, inside out, and then combining that. So maybe discussing this a little bit further. Linda, you have also your formal process inspired by what you've learned in our program, looking at, for instance, the innovation funnel or stage gate models at ING and the likes at DSM. So this is your process. So you've been able to put this into the market in about 3 weeks. So in these times with pressure, with maybe also the need to have a positive signal to the rest of the organization, how how did you navigate those formal processes in your stage gate model?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. My team was also saying to me, okay, we did it in 3 weeks. Be aware, this is not going to be the new standard. But they did it, so that's very good. But what we did, well, actually, what you also need is some courage, because it was just an idea that we had. And normally we just tested it first before we go to all the other stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
And what we now did, we just had just an idea in the pipeline. We just say, okay, this is the idea, we're going to test it. Are you supporting the idea? And when the stakeholders, so the board said, yes, we support the idea. What I did next was just get together all the people who I needed around my team. So what I mean is risk and compliance, the IT developers, the marketing and communication manager. So that's the second thing that I did, and I did it all in one day. And they just trust me and my team on the idea this time. And normally I had to convince them more with the facts already. But so that was very nice to see as well. But we followed this process. So that's what I did. I also said, okay, we are now in a pipeline. We go into ideation. Can you give us the support to go? This is what we need. We need it tomorrow instead of next week. So I was getting everyone on board immediately, actually.
Linda, and so thanks for sharing so much detail here. So it also means that you also give me the impression that you're the lead of your entire innovation capability here. But this also gives me the impression that for this particular new idea, you were also the team lead or the idea lead for this particular project, or did you have another role in this project? What was your role in this? And how is it different from a typical project?
Yeah. Well, I was I think the supporting lead, because one of my team members was coming with the idea. But I was supporting my team.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was also focusing on get all the steps in line.
Right. Okay. So and then also like in one day mobilizing those stakeholders. So
yeah.
I guess that's also a key supporting role here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Last thing, also given time, and then also to bring it back to the rest of the group. But then at least I've been able to share and explore with you the things that at least from our program, from our process, we care about an awful lot. Given it how they contribute to success or failure of projects. This notion of success, because okay, you want to have something successful for customers, you want to help them to achieve their job to be done, but also it has to be successful for your organization. And then two things stand out. First of all, you mentioned that just aside from the business model or whatever, this was just for the entire organization, also for the board, this was a positive project which gave a vibe or some kind of smile on people's faces or some confidence. So can you reflect a little bit on that? And secondly, you had this threshold, like, we need at least 100 clicks. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about that benchmark as well? So the positive message, and also let's say the hypothesis that you formulated for a no-go decision.
Yeah, I think also always in innovation, you need to get your stakeholders with you. And the most important thing that I always do is to give them security. And the security that I gave them at least was a goal. So we just set a goal like, okay, if we have 100 clicks, it's successful. And that gave them some security. And I don't know how it is for others, but in our company, every day it's about a crisis. So a lot of shit happens, you can say. And I think this is one of the things that just gave some hope in some positive news. And a lot of people are willing to help because they like it to work on something positive in these times. So that was a major boost for the speed as well. People get a positive goal, and they can deliver their knowledge and the things that they are good in their job normally. They can focus it now on this project, and that was very, I think, a very nice way to see that.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, so with that said, outside in, inside out perspective, defining success, all these, let's say, key elements in turning an idea or developing an idea and turning that into a proper opportunity. Any questions or reflections from the rest of the group? Maybe also, how this could apply to you. Any questions that you have to us? Anybody? Britt, if you're still with us. Bart, Tim, you've joined us. Welcome. Bastiaan, and anything that you would like to bring in?
If there's no question, I have one, but I want to wait and see first if there's others.
I've got one, but I was also slightly waiting. You said that for this time you could do it differently and a lot faster. But I was wondering what went wrong for you to say that you couldn't do this all the time from now on with all the projects a lot faster?
Good question. I think that one of the things is that people are very, or actually more focused than normally. So they're working at home most of the time. They focus more on this project. And I think it's really a sense of urgency in this time. It is very a need that is out there now, and a lot of people are aware of that. So if you didn't get it live right now, then you also you're all too late. I think a lot of people are understanding that you need the speed right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think normally we are like about 3 to 5 months for a new project.
Yeah. That sounds familiar for me as well at Vattenfall. So, but I always try to take some examples where you did faster, better, cheaper, etc. And to use that as a leverage towards improvement of decision time and getting into market, or that you can do more projects in the same time, etc.
Yeah, like an examples. It's nice. It's a nice view. I will do that. See what happens.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, because then also, Linda, the question is, what is it that you learned the most out of this process? What is it? What can you bring to future projects?
It's a good question. I think I'm a little bit still in the middle of the process to reflect yet. Yeah, I think one of the things is that we have it organized, so we have really capability, and yeah, it's a good question.
So what now are your next steps, if I may ask? Because you're still in some learning mode, right? So to validate, see really, is this really working well? Can we improve? Can we make some money out of this perhaps? So what is the next experiment, if you will, to assess performance of this project?
Yeah, the next experiment is expanding the service. So with the physiotherapists and maybe some other solutions. And another thing that we wanted to do is to scale, to see if we can roll out with one of the big companies in the Netherlands who face this problem as well, and learn about that problem that they are facing.
Right.
So maybe adding to that, because your remark, Linda, very much links to the question that I had about eating your own dog food. I guess that Centraal Beheer in itself as an organization is also a very interesting customer, right?
Yeah.
Is your organization open to also embrace this for their own employees?
Oh, it's actually interesting that you're bringing this up, because our own company was struggling as well with having to get this organized. So they embraced this already.
Nice.
And when we were coming up with this idea, they said that's exactly what we need, actually.
Yeah.
So maybe that was one also of the success factors, I guess.
Yeah.
That we solved a problem as well for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think especially from the messaging around your also from a marketing perspective, if you can add that to your story, right? It is a very positive one that a company, I don't know how many people working at Centraal Beheer, but that's quite a big organization, I can imagine, is embracing your initiative also as a customer.
Yes, that's very interesting. Thank you.
Putting the money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah. For sure.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Angelique. So let's work towards a wrap up in a couple of minutes time. So if I just make a quick round, just to see what's on top of mind, what are some takeaways from you, or some questions that you still have. Maybe Bart, we've heard from you, but maybe some others, maybe Bastiaan, Britt, or Tim. Is there anything that that you've picked up that you could start to apply? Any question that you still have, for if not now, for next week perhaps? So I'm curious what you've learned here.
Well, for me, it's interesting to see that we can still make things happen when we keep it a bit smaller, maybe, and not too detailed, and get things through the organization. Compared to what we're internally doing right now, is we need quite a bit of detail, support internally and stuff like that. So I'll put more focus on keep it a bit more simple and quick to the point.
Yeah. Okay, so that's definitely.
Yeah, I really like the inspiration as well, especially to make it not only an advantage for other businesses, but also for your own employees. I think that's really a good connection, and also I like the fact that she put like really one goal for the board. So like if I'm gonna make 100 positive reactions on the fake door test, then it's successful and we can continue. So to make really short KPIs in order not to make it too big and maybe too expensive in the beginning. So yeah, it gave me some new ideas. Thanks a lot.
Wonderful, thank you. How about you, Tim? You just joined, or at least you missed the introduction. But
sorry, I was a bit later in the meeting, but I really like the process around it, and I'm just maybe interested in how did you make happen to make the feedback loop as short as possible.
Yeah, we had a call every morning and every afternoon, and everyone who wanted to join was welcome, and we updated and.
And then you also, but I mean, you also talk to the customers then in this feedback loop.
Yeah, we did that through the tool of the My Dialogues tool.
Yeah.
So that's we use that data for that.
Okay.
Yeah, and the feedback tool that we get now is that we have the information at the form that the customers were filling in, and we had 2 people to call them. So for every lead that was coming in, we contacted them to get some more information and insights about their needs, and that we use to improve the service.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah? So that's definitely also then primary data. So you of course primary data through the tool, but then also really in-person contact through these calls. Lovely there. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for this great example. Great that it was inspired and triggered you in your own thoughts and your own efforts to keep up the innovation engine in your organization. We definitely want to push this in the weeks to come. Maybe going over one or more of the topics in the framework that we have for innovation excellence and maturity. So one of the processes, of course, today was from idea to opportunity and business model, and how to do that from an effectual perspective. Another process that's I think also relevant in these days is the actual portfolio management, like with all at the overall level, all of our projects, how to manage and deal that, how to maybe put things on hold, accelerate things, put things on the agenda, like the case that we've seen today. How do you integrate the outside-in perspective in that, for instance? So that's maybe something to explore, because definitely the call to action is to work with us on developing new webinars like this every other Friday, or every Friday, I should say. And earlier, we've indeed get in touch with those of you also joining last week. And at least three themes seem to be top of mind. One of them indeed is innovation portfolio management, as I've just mentioned, but also what we've covered a little bit today, how to run these experiments. If you can't maybe go out of the building and talk to people, observe people in real life, how to do those experiments. Well, we've seen a nice example here, but maybe we can push that in some more detail in an upcoming session. But also, if we talk about driving innovation, leading leaders, building networks, building new connections inside and also outside of the organization, how to do that in these times. So, when it comes to this important role of innovation drivers, how to do that. So these are things that we aim to cover in the weeks to come. But we're very open to some other suggestions. We will reach out for sure outside of this webinar. But if there are at this point any confirmations about these topics or any suggestions, then please let me know. So if please speak up or put them in the chat box. So yeah, if I may ask, is there anything that we can work towards for next week or the week after that for you? Are you okay? Yeah.
I'm very curious about managing the innovation portfolio.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I think it's a bit outside of the scope of this webinar now to explore that in deeper. But for now, this is good to know. And of course, we will get in touch offline to get this question as sharp as we can. Okay. So anybody else?
Maybe how to organize efficient brainstorms?
Yeah. Thanks, Britt. Okay. So please, also use the chat function to bring up anything that you want or reach out, and we'll also definitely reach out to you to make sure that next week we have another interesting session coming up. So as mentioned, we will be sharing this with you and also with the rest of the community that we have. And we're looking forward to working with you in the next weeks to support you as much as we can. Okay, so I think this is about exactly 1 hour of a webinar. Final words, anybody? Maybe Angelique. How would you like to help us to conclude?
Yeah, I think that in these challenging times, it is really good to keep finding each other. So whenever you have a very specific question, just reach out to our team. I don't know, you didn't mention it, Ferdinand, but of course we have now the the specific space on LinkedIn. I don't know if everyone in this group is already there, and if not, I'm sure that Aniek will invite them. So that's, I think, really important. And let's also use that environment to ask each other short questions, that you don't have to wait for an upcoming webinar, which is great, but also very practical sessions going forward. Let's just use that environment as well. And maybe specifically to Brit, your question on the brainstorming, I've used Mural a couple of times. I don't know if you know it, but it might be quite interesting.
Yeah, I know it. I know it.
Yeah,
but it's
so
still a bit chaotic if everybody's creating post-its, etc.,
yeah,
and moving around the mural. So it's not really the best thing yet.
Okay.
But yeah, indeed, and I'm familiar with the tool, but I'm still looking at a way that it creates a little bit more interaction.
Yeah, and we can dive into that and then maybe have like a separate session on that indeed for the very practical part of innovation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So these are great insights, and thanks for these words, Angelique. So definitely, you know, we'll get in touch through various channels, like also LinkedIn. Okay, I think just keeping an eye on time and understanding that, you know, this is a 1 hour session. Thank you so much for being with us. Linda, to you, thank you so much for sharing your great example here. And yeah, looking forward to meeting you all next time.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for hosting.
Thank
you.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.